Are there any cultural differences between America and Paraguay? This is the question that we're going to answer in today's video. And as someone who has lived in both countries, I'm living in Texas and also in Paraguay, hopefully I'll be able to share some of the things that I have learned along the way. Let's start out talking about family life in the two countries. This is really a big deciding factor for so many of you who wish to relocate to another country. Is family life intact in the new country or not? This is a very burning question that many of you guys have. Let's start out talking about America. What is family life like in America? I think it is an undeniable fact that the disintegration of family life has reached more advanced stages in the Western Hemisphere, including the United States of America and most of Western Europe. Family is becoming increasingly less important in the Western Hemisphere, which is quite tragic if you really think about it. It must be said that a solid family foundation is often a prerequisite to your overall success. It is really true. And it also is a big determining factor for our overall happiness. That's at least what I have found personally. And what I'd like to say is that family life in America is definitely deteriorating. You see a lot of people who prioritize individualism and, quite sadly, also addictions over building a family, starting a family. And this is sad. It is sad to witness that. Now, I'm not saying this does not exist in Paraguay, because it certainly does. America has a huge drug addiction problem, huge ones. And again, I'm not saying that these addictions don't exist in Paraguay, because they certainly do. However, we have to look at it from a percentile perspective. There's definitely more drug-related problems in America than in a place like Paraguay. I mean, the problems that exist in emerging countries, they're mostly because of the exportation of drugs to developed countries, because developed countries, they are the buyers of drugs, right? So there is a key differentiating factor here that we need to focus on. But as a rule of thumb, it feels to me as if people in Paraguay, they don't want to sacrifice their family life over something like drugs. Whereas in America, it's often the reason for not starting a family in the first place. And of course, drug-related problems is just one aspect of it. What about consumption issues? America got a massive consumption problem. This country is addicted to a lot of stuff, okay? Food, going to the mall, going to Walmart, going to Target, just buying stuff. I mean, this country has a massive addiction problem. And you only ever realize that when you travel outside the United States. And oftentimes it's not related to consumption, but it is related to the community. And that's the big differentiating factor between the United States of America and Paraguay, because in Paraguay, people get happiness from communication. And that's a big differentiating factor. Look, whenever you eat, right, food, especially addictive, very delicious food that's rich in salt and fat and sugar, these foods, they release a lot of dopamine in your brain. And what this scientifically does is it makes you addictive to whatever you're eating. It's just science. The science doesn't lie. In Paraguay, and I'm saying because of the lack of economic opportunities in the country, people don't even have the money to eat 5 times a day. They don't have the time to wander around shopping malls. Don't have the time, don't have the money for it. And in America, it's standardized. It's like no matter where you go, it's culturally accepted to eat 5 times a day in America, 7 times a day. It's completely normal. In Paraguay, it is not. America has reached a different level of wealth, of standards that Paraguayans can't even imagine, because there's a lack of economic opportunities, and because of that lack of economic opportunities, there's a lack of finances, and with a lack of finances, you can't really do that much. So people get happiness, they get dopamine releases from different things, like just having conversations. And I'm not saying now that all countries are like that, but no, they're not. There are many Paraguayans who have 3 to 5 meals a day, so I'm not saying that, but there are a lot of them who don't have that kind of money. And I'm not saying that poor people are happy and rich people are unhappy. I'm not saying it, but I think we're really differentiating here between two categories of people and what seems to make them happy in more cases than not. Anyway, going back to the disintegration of family, topic that we started, and then we kind of got off track talking about food and consumption. But the integration of family is super important in Paraguay. And you see that already when you meet people that their natural tendency is to build a bridge. It is not to destroy a bridge. Like in Europe, oftentimes these days, the disintegration of family is not an option, it is accepted. And it is also expected in many cases, which is sad. The reason why a human is well off, we're talking about emotionally speaking and spiritually speaking. The reason why that is the case is because the human receives nourishment from his family, her family. So this is a big difference that I am seeing in the two countries, where countries with less economic opportunities, they just spend more time on the things that we used to value a century ago in the West. And well, technically Paraguay is the West, geographically speaking it is the West, but from a mentality perspective it is not, right? It is still, if you want to say, lagging behind. Okay, if that makes you happy, if you want to say third world, you can say whatever you want. It is an emerging country, it is a developing country, but these simple things, the collectivism is something that is truly remarkable in Paraguay, where you can walk into a store and just have like a nice conversation with someone without having to worry about that person suing you, or without you having to worry about that person being upset or being unfriendly. And I'm not saying that's the case in America, because America is a very friendly country in many ways, right? It is very pro-business. The pro-business focus in America has created a very friendly mentality, a very friendly way of doing business, because how do you generate business? Well, it's by being nice to people, right? So it's the same in an external sense, it is the same, but the underlying causes are significantly different. And you're only ever going to get to experience that when you live in both countries. I mean, you only ever get to compare when you live in both countries. In America, people are also friendly, but it's because it is expected professionally, right? In Paraguay, people are friendly because it is expected culturally. It's a very different mentality, very different mentality. So family life is everything in Paraguay. Even though birth rates are going down in Paraguay, like they're going down in any other country, still Paraguay is one of the Latin countries with the highest birth rate. And coming from a Western country and coming from a culture where the disintegration of family is the norm, not the exception anymore, it really makes you feel good about humanity. It makes you feel good about being alive, because at the end of the day, who we should value more than anyone is family and close personal friends. That's who we should nourish the most. And this is still the case in Paraguay, and that's why, for me personally, going to Paraguay makes a lot of sense, because I get to experience a different side of life that almost vanished in the Western Hemisphere. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating that there are no Western families with strong family values. There are millions of them, I'm not saying that, but from a percentile speaking, it is in decline. In Paraguay, you can just walk into any store and you can have a conversation with someone, and they even want to initiate a conversation because it is how happiness is derived. And this is the big differentiating factor that I want to bring across this video urgently and desperately, because it is something that so many of us are craving for. We are craving for recognition. We're craving for this missing element of modern human societies that is still very prevalent, very present in Paraguayan culture. When you go to Paraguay, you will see immediately what I'm talking about. It's not even a question, it's a question of when, not if. All right, let's talk about dining. This is a big factor too. For many Americans, especially the ones who I am talking to, they typically appreciate the dining aspect of an emerging country, and even like in Europe too. But if you come from North America, specifically the United States and Canada, the dining culture is no longer what it used to be. Just dining itself, like the meaning of dining, has changed. Dining used to stand for a time together. It used to stand for family time. Dining equaled family time. Dining equaled enjoyment, appreciation for the food. Dining is the fruits of our labor. And this is a big point here. And again, I'm not saying it doesn't exist in Paraguay, because it certainly does, but on a percentile basis, it's just more common in America than it is in Paraguay. In America, takeout food has become very popular. In fact, eating in our cars has become very popular. But is that really how we should treat dining? Is this really how we should define dining? Because dining is supposed to stand for so much more than just the quick consumption of food. Dining was supposed to mean, like I said, the appreciation of the fruits of our labor, the appreciation of family, of community time. But this is no longer the case in America, in many cases, right? In Paraguay, it is still the case. When you go out, you see people sit together and really slowly enjoy a nice meal. And the communication aspect is so important in Paraguay. And I think because of this very strong personal value, dining aspect of life, I mean, the true, what it used to meant is not going away, at least not as quickly as it's been going away in America and also some other Western countries. And I'm not saying that Paraguayans never take out food. That is not true. They do take out food. But just overall, like the overall observations that I've made in Paraguay personally is that there's more appreciation for food, there's more appreciation, there's more respect for dining, than in America. In America, dining has become more like an automation. It has become more like, consumption, but it is not what it's supposed to be. And if you want to appreciate a good meal with people who appreciate it too, having good conversations, and again, I'm not saying you can't have that in America, you certainly can, and you certainly do, and you certainly will. In Paraguay, it is just so different. Like for instance, in Europe, and this is something that is still very present in Europe, and that's why I'm grateful that it's still very present in Europe, is that Europeans, a lot of them, whenever they have dinner, they take an hour to 90 minutes to have dinner. And that's beautiful because you get to open your heart, you have nice conversations, you have just a good time. And I think that's an important aspect of life. Like America has prioritized individual success over the happiness of the family. And this is the only reason why things are the way they are. Maybe not the only reason, but one of the main reasons of, why things are the way they are. There are also a couple of other reasons too, but this, later stage of individualism, if you will, is causing us a lot of problems. And hopefully American society will wake up to the fact that there's so much more to life than just work. And that's easy to say if you have bills to pay, things to worry about, so I totally get that. You are working hard, you're working more hours, you are hustling more for a reason, you're not doing it by accident, it's by design, the system requires it, it's an expectation that American society has of you, and in Paraguay that's just different, and that's also true in Europe, it's all different in Europe, Another big point is being the provider, and this is now for the man watching this video. Well, if you're the man, you're expected to pay for the bills, you're expected to pay for meals, you're expected to pay for rent, you're expected to pay for transportation. Does this hold true in all cases? No, it does not. But in many cases it does in Paraguay. In America, it is more an equal contribution of financial value. Both add money to the budget, both contribute financially, and it's the expectation nowadays in American society. It is. In Paraguay, since women have more children than in America, since many women are happy being at home, they're happy being housewives, the man is expected to be the man, be the provider. Be the man what it used to mean 100 years ago, But that is changing in Paraguay as well, but it is not changing as rapidly as it has changed in America. And this is just something where you have to be mentally prepared, okay? When you as a Western man, when you as an American, move to Paraguay, or you just vacation in Paraguay, or you go to Paraguay in the hope to find love, it is really important that you realize this distinct quality that women are looking for in a foreign man. They have the same expectation of a Paraguayan man as they have of an American man. And to be fair, sometimes the expectation of a foreigner is even higher. It's just how it is. So get used to it. It is what it is. So if you're from a culture where you're used to your significant other adding money to your budget, also providing, then you will have to face some rather drastic changes in Paraguay, because in Paraguay it is not the norm. Certainly people contribute financially, but if you want to have more children, and that's of course also the case in America, so I'm not saying, I'm not making a polarized statement here, I'm just saying on a percentile basis, it is just more common in Paraguay than it is in America. But the good news is that many of you guys want that. You have worked your whole life. You're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and you want to relocate to Paraguay to potentially start a family. And that's perfectly fine. You have accumulated wealth, or if you have a good income, and a good income in America is often a great income in Paraguay because it automatically puts you in the upper middle class category, then you really have nothing to worry about because you have the financial means necessary to start a family and support a family in Paraguay. Maybe something that was not previously possible in America because of work commitments that you had, because of just not having the opportunity to get married in the first place. And in Paraguay, you have plenty of options. So even if you're already in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, you will find someone to have children with. All right, now that we compared the cultural differences between America and Paraguay, we would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this topic? Are you looking to relocate to Paraguay? Are you interested in visiting Paraguay? If you're ready to obtain a residence permit in Paraguay, then please feel free to reach out to us now. Nomad Elite is the #1 relocation agency in Paraguay, and we would love to help help you move to Paraguay and make it your new home, or pick up a plan B if that's what you're after. So if you want that, click on the link below the video. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, click the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you really want to help us out, click the like button. Thank you for watching, and we see you on the next video.